got a good friend, Mathew Ingram, on the line from Toronto, the Globe and Mail. How you doing, Mathew?
Pretty good. How about you?
Great. We hear all sorts of news about different phones, iPhones, M phones, of course the big one, gPhone from Google. But I'm hearing rumors now that this might not be an actual phone.
Yeah, I think originally people were sort of expecting that it would be, or some of the early reports were that it would be an actual device, and that they were working, for example, with HTC and a couple of other manufacturers, and people had seen prototypes. And now from the last report, I think it was in the New York Times, it appears to be they're working on an operating system for phones. So Google would basically provide a Linux-based OS that could then run on basically any hardware. So you could have a phone, a cheap phone made by a company, you could have an expensive phone, provided it could run this Linux OS, you could have all the features that Google would build in, you know, a Google browser or Google Maps, all those things kind of built into the operating system. That's sort of the current thinking.
Well, it kind of makes sense. When I first heard about the G phone from Google, I was wondering, why do these guys want to get into the whole hardware side? They don't really have any experience there, but obviously they are very strong on the software, the application side. So how did this rumor start that they actually had a hardware phone?
Well, I think there were some people looking at prototypes running this OS, and so the assumption then was, well, they're going to make the phone as well. But I don't, at least at the moment, that appears to be the rumor. And I agree with you. The hardware piece sort of never made any sense to me. I mean, Google doesn't really make hardware. It doesn't. It just provides, you know, search and advertising and apps, web-based apps, and so on. Building an OS makes sense because, let's face it, Windows Mobile is really not that fantastic. You know, the iPhone has a great operating system that Apple controls, so it'd be nice if there was something else that was small and light and fast and where you had all these great Google features built in, and presumably advertising supported as well.
Well, the big players obviously being BlackBerry and also Windows Mobile. Do you really think that they can make a dent in that market?
I don't know. You know, that's a good question. BlackBerry certainly owns the corporate market and a big part of the growing part of the consumer market. But you know, it still could use some improvement, and I think Windows Mobile basically has a big market share just because it's Windows, and lots of offices and companies operate on Windows. So I think it's got share mostly because of that. I think if Google could come out with something that was really competitive and had a lot of features that you don't see, you know, a really good browser, for example, really good integration with other things, I think you might see them take some market share.
Any idea on the time frame?
No idea yet, but it sounded like it was coming soon, like in the new year.
Well, good to hear. I want to thank you so much for joining us today, Mathew.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Mathew Ingram from the Globe and Mail. You can check out more of his articles and his blogging at globetechnology.com.